The first thing I remember is the sound of her voice cutting to the phone, loud and clear, because she put me on speaker. We're done. Forever. There was no hesitation, no room for argument. Just those 4 words, jagged and final, that shattered the ordinary hum of our Saturday morning. My heart froze, and for a moment I couldn't breathe. I stared at the phone as if it had betrayed me, too, as if it carried some secret weight I hadn't noticed before. "Lila, wait, what are you saying?" My own voice sounded small, almost foreign to me, but she didn't answer right away. She just kept breathing on the other end, like she had rehearsed this moment, like she had been waiting for me to crumble. And I did. I spent the rest of that morning wandering around our apartment, clutching the phone, replay her words over and over, trying to convince myself that I had misheard. Lila was my wife, my partner for 7 years. We had 2 kids, a dog, a mortgage that felt like it would never end, and dreams we whispered about at night while she rested her head on my chest. And yet, she said we were done. I called her again, my hand trembling, and she didn't pick up. That was the first real clue, though I didn't see it at the time. She always answered. Always. The absence of her voice gnawed at me like a slow poison. By late afternoon, I started noticing small things that didn't make sense. A new scent on her clothes, faint and floral, the kind I didn't recognize. A half-erased message on her phone screen that she quickly flipped away when I glanced over. I felt a knot tighten in my chest that I couldn't untangle. Denial fought with suspicion. She wouldn't do this. She couldn't. But every instinct in me screamed the opposite. That night, she came home late. She claimed she'd been at a friend's house and tried to brush past me like nothing had happened. I watched her, silent, letting her go through the motions. The smell followed her in, lingering in the air, and I finally couldn't hold it back. "Who were you with?" I asked, my voice low, barely controlled. She froze. For a second, her face softened like she might admit something. But then the practiced smile returned. "Just someone from work. Nothing to worry about." "Nothing to worry about?" I repeated, disbelief cracking the edges of my voice. "Lila, yesterday on the phone, you said we were done." Her lips parted, but no words came out. She avoided my gaze, fiddling with the hem of her sweater. And that's when I realized the betrayal wasn't just in actions. It was in silence, in hidden moments, in a life that had somehow split from mine while I was still standing there, trusting her. The next morning, her family called. Panicked. They didn't know what had happened. They said, just fragments of hushed conversations. Her sister was crying. Her father's voice was sharp and trembling. And in that chaos, I caught a sliver of truth. Lila hadn't just decided this on her own. Someone had pushed her, pulled her, maybe even planned it while I slept beside her night after night, thinking we were fine. I tried to speak to her, to confront her calmly. "Talk to me, Lila. Tell me the truth." Her silence was louder than any confession. And then finally, after what felt like hours, the dam broke in her own way. I didn't mean for it to happen," she whispered, voice small, almost like she was admitting a crime. I wanted to understand, to piece together what had fractured in her heart, that it could reach so far away from me. But the truth was messier, uglier than I could have imagined. There was someone else. And every time she looked at me now, I could see fragments of him in her eyes. The absence of what we had, replaced by a presence I wasn't part of. The days that followed were unbearable. Every message on her phone, every laugh she tried to mask, every casual touch, it all felt like betrayal carved into the fabric of my life. I moved through our apartment like a ghost, watching the life I thought we had dissolved in front of me. I thought I'd know anger, but the emotion that clung to me the most was heartbreak, a raw, jagged thing that made even breathing painful. I started finding little clues. Her wallet lying open with receipts I didn't recognize, her laptop with conversations deleted too quickly to be accidental, perfume bottles that weren't ours. And yet, when I tried to talk to her, she looked at me with the same half-smile, the same practiced calm. "You're imagining things," she said, softly, but it wasn't enough to convince me. Then came the day I found the pictures, hidden in a folder labeled something innocuous. Images of her with him, smiling, laughing, touching in ways that had once belonged to me. The floor fell away beneath me. I couldn't breathe, couldn't move. The betrayal wasn't just emotional anymore. It was visual, undeniable, staring me in the face with clarity that burned through every lie I had told myself. I confronted her, not with anger at first, but with a hollow ache that made my voice tremble. "How long?" I asked, barely audible. Her silence answered for her. I wanted to scream, to rage, to tear everything apart, but instead, I felt something I hadn't expected. A profound sorrow, a grief that wrapped itself around my chest like chains. 7 years, our children, our life. It all felt like it had been a fragile glass sculpture, shattered, and I was left holding the pieces. "Why?" I asked finally, in a whisper that seemed to vanish in the empty apartment. "Why did you do this?" Her eyes filled with tears, but they weren't mine to comfort. I didn't know how else to feel alive," she admitted, voice breaking. "It wasn't about you, not really. I needed something I couldn't get from us anymore." And in that moment, I understood. The betrayal wasn't just in the affair. It was in the quiet erosion of what we had become. It was in the spaces between us that we had ignored for too long. And while that understanding didn't lessen the pain, it made it human, relatable, tragically inevitable. I spent the next week in a haze, going through motions, taking care of the kids, hiding my tears while she tried to act like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. I realized that trust, once broken, isn't like a scratch cup you can buff out. It's like sunlight through shattered glass, beautiful in fragments, but dangerous to touch. The final confrontation came in the kitchen, late at night. I had her cornered. Not in anger, not in malice, but in necessity. "We can't go back," I said, calm but firm. "Not because I don't love you anymore. I do, but because I can't look at you and not see what happened. And I can't live in a world where that's possible." She nodded, tears streaming down her face, and for a moment, I wanted to reach across the table, to touch her hand, to believe that we could somehow stitch this back together. But I didn't. I couldn't. The next day, her family called again. Panicked, but this time I understood. The chaos, the heartbreak, the secrets, they were no longer mine alone to bear. And as I packed my things, preparing to leave for the first time since we met, I felt a strange clarity. Betrayal had carved a wound, yes, but it also illuminated something essential. My own worth, my own capacity to survive. I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I simply stepped out into the quiet morning, leaving the life we had built behind. The air was crisp, clean, and impossibly empty, but for the first time in days, I felt the faintest flicker of relief. Life would go on. Heartbreak would fade, but the lessons, the scars, they would remain. And maybe, just maybe, someday I would love again. For now, I walk away, heart aching, trust shattered, but spirit intact. And in that silence, I realized something I couldn't have understood while married. Betrayal hurts, yes, but it can also awaken the strength you never knew you had.